Boris was asking the same question the other day. Do you think there's room for new shooters at all? Of course. Of course. But, like, it's always weird, right? Because things come in trends and they seem like unstoppable. So for a while, MMOs, like, oh my God, why would you ever have make anything else but an MMO? MMOs are the biggest thing ever and they're just a cash cow. You should just make an MMO. When we announced Left 4 Dead, we announced it in the first time in person, was at San Mateo at some event for like PC Gamer or something. Norm from Tested was there, was helping out. It was a weird setup. Yeah. But not that Norm was there. Norm was a good part. Super helpful. But when we were down there, we went to go do the announcement part of it, and Gabe was there to add like weight to it. That was an important thing for Valve. And nowhere to be found. I had to go look for him. Now this is a LAN event. I've never been to a LAN event. And so there's computers like just stretched everywhere, right? This giant hall. And Gabe's playing WoW. I got to go hunt him down and be like, hey, dude, you got to stop grinding for a minute here. I don't know if you're grinding this guy's account, your account, what's going on here. It's like a security issue. But you got to stop. We got to go talk. He's like, all right. But right, if it was that inevitable. It felt like it was everywhere, right? And now nobody plays them. I mean, some people do. I know. Do you know Amazon has an MMO? Yeah, that thing's still going. I had to go look that up. But yeah, so right, like, there's always things like that feel like that, or they feel like overcrowded, and like until PUBG came out, like you couldn't think of it. And you know, I talked about last year playing Attica was my favorite little shooter. And then a bunch of people suggested a bunch of like boomer shooter kind of things, and that's not my thing. Because here's a weird thing with boomer shooters. Boomer shooters are what is not what we thought we were playing when we were playing the things that you think you're making that are boomer shooters, if that makes sense. But there's some other fun things inside of there, and some games I liked for a bit and didn't like, you know, till a point, and that's the way it goes. But there's always room for those kind of things. Like PUBG came out of nowhere and dominated everything, right? But I don't know. So there's always room. Nothing's inevitable. I mean, there's at one point RTSs were going to be the thing. Why wouldn't you make an RTS? Everybody's just playing RTSs. Oh my God, StarCraft 2, biggest thing ever. Why would you ever make anything else but an RTS? Do you know EA actually released Command and Conquer to open source? Or they released all the source code. Excuse me, it's not open source. But they released all the source code. And you can mod it and do whatever you want with it. Because they're like, yeah, there's no future in these RTSs anymore. I always just remember building fences in that game. So things come and go. Right now, it's a crowded field and a lot of people are in there. But you got to remember when you're making a game, when you're making like a big game, even for a mid-sized studio, it doesn't take a year. It doesn't take 2 years. Some of these take like 5 years. So, like, it's hard to predict what's going to change and what's going to be different. And what we're seeing here is, you know, a lot of, I think, people's ideas back at some point, especially with the competitive shooters and like Valorant and everything else. I think actually a lot of these are probably started during the Overwatch era and then left over. But like, the genre's always got room for something different in it. And I would argue it also has room in a small scale for something just really well done and polished that feels good, or hits a certain note of something that brings us the part of what we like either really good AIs in there, some storytelling, like interesting worlds. Like, there's always places for these things, and it's just, you know, the cool thing is there's this big audience now for this that are used to it. Originally, when we were doing like Left 4 Dead and we were doing controllers, and it was just like, you know, oh my God, who's gonna play this? How big of the audience is it for people who, like? And now, like, you have to have controller support because there's so many people out there in the console world playing FPS shooters. It wasn't just GoldenEye bringing it; it took a lot longer than that to bring people over. So,